Thanks for being here. Yesterday I played a bunch of old songs that I found in my old folder. I haven't talked really much yet today. This old folder that my mom's handwriting. Copied piano pieces. And I had like all kinds of stuff in there. And so I played some songs from the Fantastics. And when I was 9, I told my mom I was Beethoven reincarnated. And the longer I live, the more I understand that wasn't a brag. Like, Beethoven had some very hard times. And I don't know how I even knew what that meant when I was 9. I don't know where I had heard that. But Beethoven lived through some horrific emotional pain, because I can't imagine working that hard your whole life and then, just feeling like the world didn't understand you. Or I think he wasn't ever asked to like sit at the tables where he was serving all of these kings and queens, but he was like working for God, and bringing all of this beauty into the world, but treated like a servant and by people, And if I had to imagine what kind of spiritual life one would have needed to be okay with that kind of servitude to people, is you would have to be okay with and happy and grateful for just that relationship, that divine relationship with God. Like that piano piece that I just played. I've never written that before. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know where those notes come from, but I hear them. They like come in my head as instantaneously as I try to play them. To me, that's what Beethoven's life would have been. In fact, when I was, no offense, past possible self Beethoven, but when I play some of Beethoven's work, it feels more thinky and cerebral and following of the times than the ways that I compose. And I'm not trying to say, and therefore I'm better than Beethoven. It's just being fully improvisational might have even been enjoyed by him, but there wasn't recording technology, so you had to be more scripted. in those days. You had to be like, okay, in this part I'll do this theme. And the theme itself might have come divinely, but then you have to work it out and you have to literally handwrite every note. And I'd be very slowed down compositionally if I had to do that. But I'd also be probably focused and streamlined, and it would help you nurse a theme a little longer. I think I get distracted, and that's why my pieces don't really have like a, here's a verse, here's a chorus, back to another verse that sounds exactly the same, but with different words, and then a chorus that sounds exactly the same with the same words. Like you can't necessarily improvise that. In fact, the times that I have has felt like what I imagine genius must feel like if you're like in the sciences and you're like have this epiphany, and you must feel like, why am I being the bearer of this? Like, you, in your own humanity, you don't feel any different than other people. Like, I feel just as flawed and as broken, and if anything, I feel more flawed and more broken because I see other people having normal social lives or having families or having incomes that look more like blessed by God, and whereas this feels like that tortured artist kind of curse where like the details of your life don't necessarily, and I don't mean that as an insult to my loving partner. We have a very nice life, very, very nice life, but I don't have the things that would make me feel like I'm so great, or like so blessed. I don't know how to describe it. I feel internally blessed, and I feel blessed with my small humble details of my life, but I don't feel like I'm better than other people, and I think my life is evidence of that. My life is not some sort of like wishful thinking dream, It's a weird, solitary filling of a lot of time alone, because I work fewer hours than my boyfriend, and also just because I like being alone, but it's I also like being with kids all the time. I probably would have, in an alternate reality, if I hadn't been what can feel like I was going to say curse, but it's not, there's none of that. It is a blessing to be given music, to be given inspiration, but it is very consuming. It will be your whole life. If you have that kind of artist temperament, and I know tons of people do. I mean, I believe many of us, I don't know how reincarnation works. I'm saying I'm the only Beethoven reincarnation. Like, what if it's more like fragments of seeds scattered everywhere, and there's tons of us who have that same, and plus there's millions of brilliant people in history, and so there's millions of other artists and artistic types all over, I don't know. I don't want to say one that isn't dead. I almost said Georgia O'Keeffe because she's on my mind because I love New Mexico. I don't remember if she's passed. Anyway, but you see what I mean? Like, there's been artistic people throughout history. In fact, in your own bloodline, there's probably somebody who has a musical talent or an artistic talent or whatever. I mean, it's always been that way. There was never a social media before where just one person got famous and everyone else felt ignored and unnecessary. Like in the old days, if you go back 100 years, every person born with musical talent was useful because there were so many towns, there were communities. There was no other way to spread just Beethoven to all of the communities, So all of the musicians and all of the writers and all of the players and all of, and there was folk music, and we passed down songs maybe more than we wrote them, but still there was creative interpretation, and there was being loved and revered in your community for whatever your spiritual/artistic gifts were. So like that was normal. So we're living in a time where almost like robots are replacing us. And by robots, I mean like recorded this, but not this. Mine's too weird. But, music videos that get millions and millions of views is replacing the need for you in a community where people turn to that. They turn to the one really highly executed, highly polished thing with millions of views, or the cute TikTok, but you know what I mean? They turn to these isolated things, and then everyone does it. Millions of people do it, and now all the other millions of artists, for that day's spiritual and artistic needs, all the millions of other artists that day aren't needed in the world. This is why I believe in community and indie music scenes, and I believe in support your local artists. And yeah, they're not going to maybe be as good as the thing you're seeing at the top level. But if we don't support our community of arts, if we don't support the arts that are right around us, because consider this, what confusing message are you sending to your children if you let them get music education, be in plays, coffee's turning off, music education, be in plays, write poetry or whatever, and you support as they do it, like as like an extracurricular, and then they're 18 and they get out in the world. But in the world, you tell them, well, that doesn't have value unless you're famous. That doesn't have value unless you're suddenly Beyonce, like, or Lady Gaga and her fierce kind of like, I will be famous kind of things. Like, I don't know if you've seen the memes, like how people thinking her, like, people were mean to her, they bullied her, like, she thinks she's so great, blah blah blah, and then she did become big. But it's like, those are 1 in a million, literally. And also, that was her path. That has nothing to do with your path. And if the adults of the world who aren't into the arts don't understand that the pressure of implying that the only value that an artist could have is if they make it to that point of whatever that weird fame pyramid is, that makes, 999,000 people for everyone in a million. 999,000 people are going to feel bad about themselves in regards to their relationship with their family, and they're going to feel like they failed. They're going to feel like they failed their family because they didn't become Stanley, or because they didn't, there is one Stanley. That's it, and you might be something else, but it doesn't need to be at the global level, because there's no future where it's possible, where there can be more than 1 in a million of a Lady Gaga or a Stanley or whatever. There isn't a future possible for that. What there is, there's this. This is the future that's possible. There's the 1 in a million at the top. And then maybe there's people who get close. And then people who are close to that. And people who are close to that. And people who are close to that. And I'm not trying to make it about a pyramid, but it is. Like, that's the visual you can have. And so if your family sees that you're happy down here. Like, I don't have fame. I had a few bursts of fame. Not just school fame. Like, I did have some quick fame with War of the World 9, writing songs for that score. I know what it feels like. It does feel good. And it makes people around you feel good because they're proud of you and they're happy for you. They're excited for you. But then that doesn't mean it's going to go up past that. It might, but it might not. And you might actually go back down because more opportunities like that might not come. And we in our culture treat that like that's some horrible failing and really sad thing. Why do you think so many artists are depressed? They think they're letting their whole family down. They think they're letting everyone down, that they didn't make it. That's craziness. Fruit fly. I have a plant that has little mushrooms growing in it, and like, I need to take it outside. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it doesn't have a good drain. Like, there isn't a drain, so it's yeah. Bye, Planty. No, it doesn't have a name. It's not Planty. Anyway, well, that's I guess what talking about Beethoven inspired me to say. But anyway, his music is beautiful. If you've never listened to Beethoven, I recommend late Beethoven. My favorite one is the Pathetique Sonata. Or here's the one he's super famous for, Moonlight Sonata. It's beautiful. I read somewhere that he was annoyed that the Moonlight Sonata got so famous. And then, like, surely I've written better things than that. And I think that's where I say, like, I don't think having any bit of that in my, like, I feel that way. Like, when I got famous for War of the World 9, I felt like, oh, well, but that wasn't, I literally thought these thoughts all the time. Like, well, that wasn't the music of my soul. Like, that was like, sorry, that's a weird angle. I have to talk with my hands for this one, but like, that wasn't the music of my soul. Like, that was a commissioned project, so I felt like myself hadn't gotten out in the world, But like, what a grumpy thing to think. Something positive happened to you that served a whole community of LGBTQ people, made tons of people happy. It served a straight community too, because I had straight people telling me all the time how that helped them with their views on LGBTQ rights and LGBTQ issues, like being bullied. Like, I was gifted, fortunate to be part of that film. And the fact that I got lost in thoughts like, yeah, but I still have to now try to figure out how to make it for my voice and myself. But at the time, my voice and myself was very dark and negative, and I would have spread a lot of darkness in the world. And we all know what I think about that. I didn't mean darkness, evil. Like, Like I was nursing thoughts that were life destroying, not life giving. I was nursing thoughts that were hateful. I mean, one of my most hit songs from my Jessica Fogel years, right around from the same time as, I say hit because, like, I mean, I could silence a room of 50 drunk people with this song. I'll play it for you if you want, but it's dark. Like, they're not dark. I'm trying to get better with my language. I think darkness is one of the most beautiful and holy things that exists. It had seeds of really destructive, self-destructive and others destructive thinking inside of it. And I even used the word demons. And I didn't care because I thought it sounded cool. Like, it was cool. That's why I've been trying to look at my attraction to coolness because, hi birdies. There's birds in the window. I'll show you one. Oops, he flew away. He saw me coming. Well, okay. I'll play it. Oh, I'm changing my mind. Thoughts streaming in and around. My heart is on hold as I'm growing old. Feel like a miserable clown. Caught in this cage in my head, questioning under and over, making a break, I'll make my escape, till I remember I like you, and then we touch and thoughts slip away, this celibate life leads me to stray, but you must wait till I initiate, otherwise the demons won't open the gate. Making these bombs in my sleep, waking with ammo from dreams, ready to stir up the growing dust in my bed, moving as fast as I can, losing this race I can't win, 'cause it's not a race and yet I keep thinking it is. Da, da, da. If you were a painter, I'd ask you to paint. If you were a sinner, I'd look for a saint. If you were a loser, I'd leave you to win. There's not too much hope for this mess that I'm in. So I write my resignation, draw a map to somewhere else. Where is God in all of this? Am I really by myself? Fleeting moments of connection, moments with a purpose here. Mostly I'm too scared to wait, and so I plan my big escape. I know these words are hollow, and yesterday's words aren't today's. I hope you weren't just looking for someone to save, someone to save. Maybe there isn't an answer, and maybe the questions aren't true, or maybe I'm too scared to be with myself, so I spend my time staring at you. And you are the frog and I'm in a class, I'm learning the rules as you sit on your Actually, it's a very good song. I hadn't thought of that in a while. I guess the line about the demons always kind of threw me because that's about, like, you know, sexuality and, like, repression of things. But I think the reason I don't play a lot of that music is I was finding myself here in Michigan. I was trying to separate myself from that chapter of my life because there was a lot of pain and abuse and trauma in it. But also, that was a period of my life of a lot of confusion. And those words are like a rant in a journal. They were just, you know, I remember where I was. I was driving in Long Island when I wrote those words. I was with a touring theater company. I was in a very toxic relationship that I, instead of leaving, kind of felt trapped in because we worked together. And rather than finding solutions that could have been healthier, I stayed in that and leaned on that despite all of the toxicity inside of it that I saw from the beginning. And I tried to work it out with that person, but when a person is that, like, has that many things that are pulling you down, you know, you can't work it out with them, because to work it out with them is to try to change them. And that's what I was trying to do at the time. I think I wrote that song in 2005. And it ended up on an album. It's on my first studio release ever. It's called Du Beetstein and Vogel, the name of the release of the album. If you go to jessicavogel.bandcamp.com, that's all my old work. That's any work that I did when I was living in Chicago. I think I included, childhood stuff I put in Jessica and the Rainbow. It's like a little bridge. I do my childhood stuff here, you know, and I will put anything childhood at jessicaandtherainbow.bandcamp.com. Whether I remake it or whether I find old tapes of me singing in elementary school, like, I will put those all in Jessica and the Rainbow. But there's this period of my life where I basically turned around and did a big, this channel is family friendly, you know, but I did. I kind of was so angry and so upset at all the trauma and the memories flooding back that my music got insanely dark. And so in a way, I feel like I was saved from that being my main thrust in the world. Because once you're that, to turn around and become what I've become of all these, like if people had already known me as the other thing, they would not have accepted this, I don't think. So I was given a sort of backwards life where, like, now I present this thing that for me feels sacred. It feels like being an adult weirdo version of Mr. Rogers mixed with Care Bears and a little bit of Sesame Street, but mostly Flowy, healing things. And I know I write some really dark stuff, but that's usually about, like, big existential questions, not about, like, my love life, because I don't feel dark thoughts about my love life because I found a partner who I don't have to try to change. I found a partner who wants to grow with me and who, if either of us change, we change because we ourselves want to, not because one or the other of us needs the other to change. And that's different than, like, needing to compromise on certain things. Like, of course, all relationships have hiccups and roadblocks and compromises that need to be made. But I'm talking about, like, if you witness that a situation you're in is highly toxic and the thing that's feeling like is causing the toxicity is the other person's behavior, that's not fixable. So anyway, I'm gonna pause this so that Brian can come downstairs without fearing being in my YouTube video. Bye.